Welcome to Bruins Benders Postgame Live with Maddie and Smitty on the Inside the Rink YouTube channel. Go ahead and click subscribe to watch us all season long. You can join us on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And on X, you can follow us at Bruins Benders. Also, Smitty is at Benders Smitty. And I am at Mr. Matty Barry. And game one of the 2024-25 season is a 6-4 loss to the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Wasn't really that close.
No, it was not.
And as we get into the game recap, it begins
with
just
filling of a huge glass with some bourbon, folks.
Yeah, some, our new sponsor, Knob Creek, is in on the nice Bruins Benders mug, which you can get by using Get Bent 25 on the Inside the Rink shop on the Bruins Benders page. Our merchandise is right there. Go ahead and use Get Bent 25. Get 25% off. Buy yourself a mug. Pour some bourbon in it because the Bruins are 0-1 on the season. In the first period, the first few minutes of the first period, especially, a complete mess of epic proportions.
I'm not sure if they knew the regular season started. I mean, they were outshot at one point. I believe it was 14-2, 9-0. I think after 10 or so minutes, 9-1 maybe. Didn't show up. I don't know if they were expecting the game to get canceled. Probably would have been better off for the Bruins if the game had been canceled.
I don't know.
But full house for the Panthers. The fans were in it. Raised the banner up, and the Panthers played like Stanley Cup champions, and the Bruins played like a team that should probably not be in the playoffs this coming season. If that's their level of play, I know it's early on, and they have some things to work on and some things that they can improve on. But it needs to get much, much, much better for the Bruins if they're going to do anything this year. I know it's probably too early to say that stuff, but that was a scary loss. I mean, just a scary loss.
Yeah, I mean, it is the first game of the season. There are a couple of things, though. First, Joonas Korpisalo, the first 6 or 8 shots he makes the saves. He actually looks fairly sharp in the very early going, and then the first goal goes in off his shoulder, up in the air. Bennett's there to knock it home, and that seemed like to throw him completely off his game, where then he couldn't track the puck. His rebound control was horrific. And then another goal happens right after, same sort of thing, rebound, goal. Again, Panthers getting any type of territory they want in front of the net, and they bang home the rebound, and now Korpisalo is reeling. Like he doesn't know which end is up.
Yeah.
And, then it becomes after Zacha scores a shorthanded goal, then he gives up 2 more goals, same kind of fashion. And it just seemed like I was actually pretty optimistic in the very beginning, saying, okay, he's doing okay. And then all of a sudden the wheels fell off.
Yeah. I even when he was making saves early, I didn't feel like he was really tracking the puck very well. Like he wasn't really sure where it was. And then as the game went on, Jesus, he's sliding around like fucking madman. Sorry, John. He was all over the place, sliding out of his crease, getting off his angles. I mean, it's a miracle he made some of the saves he did. And his rebound control, like you said, just horrendous, leaving them, dropping them right in the slot for anyone to get a whack at. So, there's some things he obviously needs to clean up for him as well as everybody. It's early, definitely look rusty. And I'll go back to the coaching on this. I think they did not play the veterans enough during the preseason to get them some chemistry with each other. I mean, I know they had some injuries. Max Jones played like a game and a half. People are destroying Max Jones in the comments, which is, kind of hilarious. The whole team was bad, not just Jones. And he took some penalties. I mean, all the new guys took penalties. So that was fun. But the coaching, I just don't think they played enough together in the preseason. The veterans barely played. A game here or there, maybe one game, the whole team was together during the preseason. How are you supposed to have any kind of continuity, especially with so many new guys, so many new line combinations? How can you develop anything if you're not playing together at all in game type situations? I just don't understand it. I don't.
And here's the thing. Every line except for the geeky Marchand Coyle line had a new guy on the line from the team. Yeah. And then Geeky hasn't played with Marchand and Coyle because DeBrusque was there. So basically every line had someone brand new on the line, and they didn't play a lot, like you said, together at all in the preseason, and a lot of minor league guys and young guys, and they really gave Lysell and Merkulov a chance and all that, but then none of them made the team. So now you prepared Providence Bruins went out, smoked someone the other night because they're ready to go.
Yeah. Trevor Kuntar had a hat trick. Everybody's fired up. Let's go.
Everybody's ready to roll, but not the Boston Bruins.
No, let's head down 95. Let's head down 95 and watch them.
That was just it. They couldn't complete a pass. And here's the other thing. We've talked about it last year. And I'm not a hockey coach. Okay. I get it. But it just seems as though they're trying to make these passes from the goal line to like the blue line and beyond, stretch passes to evade the Florida forechecking, when I thought it was clear as day as get your center like down below the half wall, like make a quick little short pass to make the next pass so that you can alleviate the pressure. You know what I mean? You can alleviate the pressure. So, but I just didn't think they were doing that. They were just kind of blindly flipping the thing in the slot, or they were flipping it up to the blue line, steal. And it was just like, it was like watching a high school basketball game where the other team is completely awful and can't break the press. Like, it was just like turnover. And the Bruins couldn't even possess the puck into their own end for like 9 or 10 minutes of play. And it was just, and they have good players. So to me, I think that all of those players they have on the ice, they are pretty good players. So if you look that bad, to me, some of that has to be the coaching.
I think so. I mean, I feel like it's tough to beat a hard forechecking team like Florida when you have stationary players at the half wall. Like, you just can't do it. They have momentum. They have speed. They're very good at the forecheck. They get sticks in lanes. They get pucks, sticks on pucks. They get bodies on guys to disrupt plays. They do all that. If you're standing still, you have no fucking chance. Sorry, John. No fucking chance to do anything to get the puck out of your zone. So it's then it becomes like a high lob and a wish play at center ice, or it's a chip off the boards, and you're hoping that you can beat a guy one-on-one to make him turn and go get it. Like, there's so many different ways that they should be handling this. I think you bring more guys deep, or you fly them like you would do a press break in basketball going for a home run pass. Like, fly somebody, make somebody go back to cover that guy and open the ice up a little bit, almost like a Hail Mary in football. Like, you need to either stretch the ice the long way or bring your guys back deeper so that you have shorter passes to make and you can get the puck out of your zone. The other thing is, you're sending your weak side defenseman, as soon as it comes up the boards, he's gone. Now you don't have an outlet back to the other side.
No, you don't.
So they have to figure that out, the breakout, much better, especially against this team. And they haven't made any adjustments against this team in 2+ years. So I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Sorry.
I don't either. Because, and we've talked about this last year in the playoffs, like, make a D-to-D pass. Like, they're so worried about north-south that it plays right into the hands of the Panthers.
Yeah.
So, the old Claude Julien, bring it back to your D 2 or 3 times and then work it up, actually, I think would work against this team.
I think
you know what I mean? Because they would be so aggressive that you would make a couple passes and then attack. I think you have a chance. There was one example of a play that totally speaks into what you're just saying. It was about a minute into the second period, and Lowry has the puck on the half wall with his back to the center of the ice, and he doesn't quite know what to do with it and kind of stands up still. and I think it was Loisterainen who came in and just blew right through him, took the puck and right to the back of the net, and then scoring chance for Lundell. Like, it was like Lowry catches the puck at the half wall, stands there, kind of looks to see if there's anybody there, and all of a sudden he just gets blown by and the puck is gone. And that is a prime example of what was happening along the half wall.
Yeah, I don't know who mentioned it. I don't know if it was someone on Twitter or someone during the broadcast, but the Florida Panthers, were expecting to play a hockey game and win a hockey game. And I think the Bruins went in expecting a street fight and wanted to turn it into a street fight. Mm. And Florida was just like having none of it. So the Bruins, I think, were off their game from the very beginning because they wanted to, show how tough they were. The Bruins took 7 minor penalties. They had a fighting major. I think they wanted it to be a bloodbath, but Florida doesn't play that way. They've never really played that way. They're an agitating, under your skin, make you commit penalties and then go on the power play. And the Bruins played right into their hands. Florida was ready for what the Bruins were going to do, and they kind of baited them into it, and took control of the game early and never relinquished it.
No, and it's true that the Panthers had more power play opportunities than Boston did, and they were doing the same. Look, the Panthers aren't afraid of the Bruins. The Panthers don't have to prepare for the Bruins. The Bruins have done everything in their power to figure out the Panthers, and they can't do it. They can't do it. They don't match up well with them. Now they're getting heavier, and that didn't work tonight. I don't understand. I think it's more of a style of play situation than it is the Bruins just on their heels, passive on their heels.
Yes. Until the Bruins can figure out an adjustment to the Panthers' forecheck, it's going to be like this.
It's going to be like this.
It's going to be like this. Until the Bruins coaching staff decides they want to adjust, this is what's going to happen every fucking time. Sorry,
right. John. You can't force the thing right up the ice right away. You have to kind of rope-a-dope them up the ice and then make a good, smart pass. And then you have some numbers if you get past the first level. They haven't figured out how to get past the first level of that pressure. And until they do that, they're screwed. And again, the lack of chemistry offensively, we've said this before, their defense is going to be fine. Tonight it was a big bag of dicks, all of them. Yep. But it's going to be fine. That's going to be the strength of their team. And of course, Swayman is going to make more saves than Korpisalo does. But at the end of the day, their friggin' offense is a problem because they had 4 guys. They played 4 fourth liners and 1 fifth liner tonight. So so their third and fourth lines, they had a bunch of fourth liners on it. Beecher was the only guy who played a halfway decent game, I thought, in that bottom 6. And I know they scored the goal at the end. Who cares? That Frederick Jones Brezo line was horrific for much of the game. And it wasn't Frederick's fault, really. He's playing with 2 guys who just aren't third line players. They just aren't.
And they have a fourth line or a third line guy on the second line. So there you go.
Right. There you go. They have Geeky on the second line. And they have a second line center playing. It was a third line center, really, in Coyle. So it's just a lot of imbalance.
So when Patrick comes back, and I know we both have advocated for him to start the season in Providence, there's no way that they can do that.
There's no way they can do that. It's going to be like last year where they had to play him last year because they had a problem at center. They don't have
enough offensive talent without him in the lineup. They need him in the top 6, and they need him to play well and produce, which is a lot of pressure for a 19, 20-year-old kid. Mm-hmm. But he has to be on the team, and he has to play in the top 6, and he has to produce. He does. That's a lot of pressure to put on a kid like that at this stage, but that's what they need. Otherwise, their top 6 is awful. I mean, it's already, we said all along that they were going to have problems scoring goals, and their top 6 wasn't great. Their first line will be fine, I think.
Yeah.
Their first line will be fine. And, Marchand probably needs a little time to get his legs under him after all the surgeries. And Coyle, is responsible. and he'll give you 50 points. But they need Potter there with Marchand to be able to make that second line an offensive line. Right. Otherwise, it's Marchand and a guy who like Coyle who occasionally can score and occasionally be like, wow, where's that? Right. All the time, sure. But flashes. And then Freddie needs a geeky on the third line and somebody else on the third line, not Max Jones, not Justin Brazeau. As much as people love him and think he can score and whatever, he's slow as fuck. Sorry, John. But they have issues in the bottom six. They got a bunch of guys, so hopefully somebody will pop and they can figure it out. But the offense is going to be a problem all year long, I think.
They got 1 million fourth line players.
They do,
and they have 3 or 4 more in the minors that could easily play over a couple of these guys here. I mean, you can't tell me differently. Like Trevor Kuntara and Riley Duran, those guys could play and do what the hell they did tonight.
Yeah,
of course they could. Like John Farinacci, these guys could. They aren't. There's not much separation between the NHL players and NHL players in the bottom six. There just isn't. Now we'll take a quick look into the box score. And the one that jumps out at me is Mason Lohrei, and you mentioned it in our little chat group during the game. Like Lohrei just looked overwhelmed. He looked out of sorts. He was a -3. He played the lowest amount of minutes, only 16 minutes in the game. He really looked inexperienced and young in sort of game play tonight. And was just kind of swarmed under a lot tonight and didn't show a lot of, he made a few good breakout passes early, but he really also didn't play. He didn't look to play with the same conviction he did in the playoffs, which was disappointing.
It was, but I'll put part of the blame for his poor performance on his partner Brandon Carlo, who was equally as terrible.
Oh, he was
brutal. He was passing the puck to the other team all night.
He was bad.
So. I mean, I'll chalk that up to a bad day for the defense. And I'll say, Carlo obviously will be better. And I think Lohrei will be better too. I think, that's a bad matchup for him, kind of trying to get his feet wet again, after, for the start of the season. So, he didn't play a lot in preseason either, really.
No,
so
Carlo did not play a lot in preseason.
I mean, Carlo didn't. I don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah. And they're talking about shrinking the amount of preseason games too. It's I don't know. I just feel like the coaching staff went about the preseason all wrong. Like if you're going to give all these fourth line guys time to audition for jobs, it'd be cool if some of them made the team. Like
well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They played a bunch of guys a ton of minutes. Riley Tufte seemed to play 25 minutes a game, and he's nowhere to be seen. Like there were guys there that played a lot that just didn't end up playing. Billy Sweezy played a ton, and they waved his ass. Like I don't understand. Like I don't get it.
Right.
I don't. I mean, is that what the purpose is, to see if we get something out of Billy Sweezy? Like he was going to play in Providence at the most?
Yes.
Like what?
That's what I mean. That's what my problem is with this. Why are we not trying to get the guys that we need to get ready? Like, why is that not the objective of training camp? I feel like it should be.
Right. Now, Lindholm was out early, and
he was.
Marchand was out late, and Pastrnak got hurt in the middle of it. And so there was some unsettling things there. But, for God's sakes, get some guys in there, play them together. You have to have an idea of what your lines are going to be. Like, and it really didn't change all that much. We kind of knew what the lines were going to be, especially the top two.
Yeah.
So just play the friggin' guys together.
Well, I mean, but it's also the defensive pairs. Like, you go into camp saying it's going to be Zadorov with McAvoy. They played them one game together. They were atrocious, and then they gave up on it. They just gave up on it. And then they put Lindholm with McAvoy, who Lindholm with McAvoy last year wasn't great. That's why Lindholm played with Carlo.
Right.
So, can we figure that shit out in training camp and not during the fucking season? Sorry, John. Yeah. Can we get a hold of that beforehand, and maybe we would have looked a little crisper tonight in the home in the opener, rather than looking like a bag of dicks, which you
Right. So eloquently talked about. Yeah. The fourth line. I mean, Cole Koepke played 8:25. I mean, we're going to do that in game one. We're going to have guys playing 8 minutes in game one. Like, can you play guys who can play at least 12, 13 minutes, at least the beginning of the season? I mean, we're going to do this where we don't play the fourth line at all from the start of the season. Like,
what is this, high school hockey? We're going to play the top two lines and no one else gets a sniff.
But I'll tell you what, though, they're going to need Pastrnak and they're going to need Tyler Johnson. Like
Tyler Johnson or Fabian Lysell. They're going to need somebody.
They're going to need someone like that to get in there. And if Lysell doesn't come out in Providence and light the thing up the first 2 weeks, then he's a complete a-hole, because this is his opportunity right now to go out there and score 5 goals in the first 10 games or whatever, and then get a call up and then stick and then show that he can stick. I mean, he's bitching and moaning about he played well and all this other stuff and thinks that he was wronged. So show us why you think you were wronged, because it's, again, every opportunity. And then the other thing was, can you imagine, Jeremy Swayman should have waited 2 more weeks to sign, because he would have gotten $12 million.
Yeah, he would have gotten,
because there would have been an uproar. Yeah, an uproar after this one with Korpisalo. And the other thing is with Korpisalo, like, here's a $3 million guy who's not very good. Mm-hmm. And Brandon, you mean to tell me Brandon Busty couldn't do that tonight? I mean, I know he hasn't been great, but he could do that.
He sure can do that.
I mean,
he certainly could
for $900,000.
And he could do it for $2 and change cheaper.
Yeah,
than Korpisalo did. I mean, we said at the time. I'm not sure why you got a goalie back in the trade.
I know either. All right, let's get into some. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's get into some fan comments. Jason says, "Why is Jones on the team?" Excellent point. I don't know. And here's the other thing: he barely played in the preseason, and then automatically gets a third line spot.
Yeah,
you don't even know the guy. You don't even know what he can do, and then you put him on the third line. Like, I don't get that at all. And I know Pastra's out, and I know that. For whatever reason, Merkulov and Lysell, you just won't give a chance to. See, that to me, this is the time to give those guys the chance. You're not going to blow the season in the first 3 or 4 games. Give them the first 3 or 4 games to see if they can actually do something. And if they don't, send them down. But at least start the season, at least with Lysell, who played better than Merkulov. Mm-hmm. Give Lysell a shot even if it's on the third line, even though I'd rather have him play in the second line. But give him a shot for 4 or 5 games and see what happens, and then send him down instead of this nonsense. Then Liam says, "Hey boys, would love to hear what you think about Max Jones' fantastic game tonight." It was less than fantastic, Liam.
I mean, look, if Fabian Lysell is going to play, come up and get his chance, and he's going to play 10 minutes. Max Jones played 9:42 tonight. So you can't tell me that you couldn't put Fabian Lysell in the third line and have him play 9:42.
Yeah.
And not take penalties and maybe have some scoring chances.
Right.
It gives Frederick another guy with offensive ability there. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you said,
you know what they did? This is what they did. This is what they think they did. They wanted to go in, like you said, with a street fight and put all their big bruising guys in there and try to pick fights. And it backfired, because all of a sudden it's 4-1, and the Panthers aren't going to respond to that. They don't have to. No. So, if you're going to do that, go out in the first shift and just take a penalty and go after a guy and start chucking knucks. And then maybe that can happen. But they went about it all wrong. Like, they should have just put Lysell and not put Max Jones in the third line and all that. But they went out thinking, we're just going to put all our big guys out there. That's why I think the whole heaviness thing is a little overrated. It's not just about how big are you or how fat are you. It's about, are you tough enough? Is your culture so, such that you can withstand the bulliness from a team like Florida or Carolina, or the teams in the St. Louis, the teams in the past who've done it to you? Yeah. It's about a culture thing. It's not about size, because last year they had like 14 guys over 200 pounds. Yeah. They weren't really that small. It was that they weren't that tough.
No. Yeah. That's what it's about. We've said that before. A lot of the toughness that you need actually needs to come from your star players. Those guys need to stand up to the hits and the abuse that they're going to take in the playoffs and still produce. That's what you need to have happen. You need your star players to be tough enough to handle all the side bullshit, all the chops, all the extracurriculars, all that stuff, and still be able to play through it and produce and not whine and cry and bitch and complain. They need to tough it up, nut up, and play well. That's what it comes down to. Those guys need to be better against teams that, bully you to a certain degree. And, the Bruins Stars have not lived up to it against this Florida team. And, some of it's that, some of it's coaching, I think, some of it's not being able to make adjustments. But, until the Bruins can kind of get a hold of those different things, it's going to be the same result.
Yeah. Christy DeLisi was on our pod recently, who writes for some Panthers content for ITR. She says she was shocked that Boston didn't put Swayman in it all. And I even texted to you guys. I was like, are they going to really pull Korpisalo in the first friggin' game of the season? And they didn't, when I thought they might have been able to when it was 4-1. Like, he just didn't look like he wanted to be there. And to put Swayman in there would have been quite the story.
Yeah, I just think they probably were like, look, if we were going to play him at all, we would have probably just started him. So I think probably the plan going in was, look, you'll go in if he's hurt, but other than that,
I just don't think that at that point. I mean, to put him in there when the Panthers are rolling and you are taking on water. And,
the thing about it too is you don't want to give the Panthers any more ammunition. Like if Swayman goes in and he's a little, he's not quite up to snuff and he's a little rusty, and they put 3 or 4 by him, that gives him even more confidence, after Swayman was really good against him in a postseason. So I think probably they handled that the right way. I think, maybe you want to get Swayman in there and get a little, rubber on him and shake the rust off, but I think they probably handled that the right way.
And then Korpisalo gets run by Bennett after the goal. Again, Carlo just kind of lets him run him. Like, he didn't even finish the play with him. The shot was on net, and then Carlo just kind of lets him go by and completely run Korpisalo over. I thought he would be out of the game there. He looked like he was real shaky. He stayed in. But again, that was a little bit alarming tonight, was the way the Bruins, who have been preaching we're going to be bigger on defense. That's all I heard about in the preseason in the summer. Like, they're huge on defense. Like, McAvoy's like, I'm the smallest guy at 6'1", 210 or whatever. Like, we're big, we're huge. And they played soft as hell in front of the net.
So they are big, but they have 2 soft-ish guys back there in Lindholm. 3 softish guys back to him, and Lindholm, Lowry, and Carlo. So they might be big,
half your D,
but they're not physical and nasty. Like Carlo was more in the playoffs. Lindholm's never been that guy, and I don't think Lowry's going to be that guy.
Nope.
They'll use their size and their reach and their stick position to break up plays, but they're not going to clear the front of the net. That's just not in their nature.
No,
it's not in their nature, and as much as you want it to be, and you're infuriated watching it, and I don't know how you can watch it, and think to yourself, like, if I was there, I'd be killing that guy. Like, but they just won't do it.
They won't do it.
So there's not much you can do there with that. They're on the team. Those are going to be your guys. So unless they can change their DNA somehow, that's what you're going to end up with. You're going to end up with some guys who will want to clear the front of the net, and half your D won't.
And that's part of the reason why I think Lowry and Lindholm are too much alike. And I think that going forward, if you decide that you want to give Lowry a long-term deal, like, I think those guys are too much alike. I think you need to really revisit whether or not Lindholm is on the team long-term if you decide to commit to Lowry, because they're the same guy on the left side that's not really that physical or tough. And I think that could be an issue for a while, for as long as they're teammates. I just think they're the same.
Yeah, so, I agree with you. And I think Lowry gives you more offensive upside. So
and he's younger and he's more talented offensively than Lindholm is.
And he skates better. So, there's all of those things. So, we've said it before that, if it was up to us, we would consider moving Lindholm.
Yes, I would.
You could put in Wotherspoon. I mean, there's guys that you could play there. Lowry can certainly play a ton of minutes. He didn't look great tonight, but Lindholm didn't look great tonight either.
And I'll tell you what, in the offseason, Lindholm's contract is not that bad.
It isn't.
It's not. It's 6.5 with a cap of $92 million. Not bad. Like he only makes $1.5 million more than Zadorov does.
Yeah.
So, not bad. Dan Maynard says he only managed to watch a small part of the first period, but it just didn't seem like Korpisalo had covered the top half of the net. And that was my problem with the goal by Reinhart, I think it was, against McAvoy. McAvoy made a horrific play, I thought. He didn't close the space. He kind of let him take up too much space, just kind of stuck his stick out there and gave Reinhart too much room. But then the shot, and they were saying on the broadcast that it was a great shot. It wasn't a great shot. He hit him he flipped it toward the net. He hit him in the shoulder, went off the shoulder and up under the bar. Like that's a save you have to make. He was too small in net. Like that, he's got to come out another step, cut the angle down, and just make the save. To me, that's an easy save. And he just didn't make it because he wasn't covering the net.
He should make that save, and it was a bad play by McAvoy defensively. He didn't get back, and then he just kind of held the stick out and allowed Reinhart to skate and get a step on him, and he just kind of didn't get back as fast as he should have, and gave Reinhart an angle to the net, which he shouldn't have. Right. And then Reinhart makes a great play, but it is a save you need, I think, in that situation.
You do need that save. I mean, it went off his shoulder and into the net. And I don't know if McAvoy thought the forward back checking was going to catch up and disrupt or what it was, but he just didn't have much sense of urgency.
To
get back at first, and it was just an odd kind of play. And then Camerino says, does Monty care at all about chemistry between the preseason usage and how he randomly switches up lines? And we've been saying this for a while. I'll tell you what, if you don't believe, and I saw this on Twitter today, I think it was Greg Wyshynski who put out something that the vibe was off for the Bruins, and something about the Monty extension and how they say that they're working on it, but there isn't one yet, and he's going into the last year of his deal. I'm telling you right now, if you think that that's a done deal right now, you're wrong. You're wrong, because I think they still aren't sure that that this guy can bring them to the prom. I know they're 80 games over 500 or whatever with them, but when it comes to can this guy get them over the top in the playoffs, I don't think that they're sure about that yet. And I'm telling you, the jury's still out on whether he gets that extension.
I would agree with you. I think the jury should be out, because I'm not sure and whether that's the guys he hired to coach offensive and defensive and power play, or if it's his own systems. I'm not sure that is what you need, and they're not making the proper adjustments when it's called for. So if you can't adjust, or you can't tailor your system to your guys, to the style that your guys can play, not just style you want to play, the style that your guys can play.
Right.
The guys that you have on your team, what do they do well? Tailor a style to what they do well, not a style to, if you have Cale Makar. Yeah, if you can get the puck to the weak side D and it's Cale Makar and he can blow up the ice and then pass it to Nathan McKinnon, yeah, you're great. But if it's, Andrew Peak passing it to Max Jones, it's not the same fucking thing. So, I agree. I am frustrated by the whole thing, because it's been like this for too long, in my opinion, where they haven't adjusted to how other teams play against them, and it's the same shit over and over again, and it frustrates me, because it's like chip up the board, standing still, chip up the board, pass it blindly into the middle, and it happens over and over and over again. And why does someone in the video room or one of the coaches not say, look, we're going to do it a little differently today. We're going to go D to D, or we're going to bring the center down low, or we're going to have the winger cut into the middle, the weak side winger cut into the middle to give you another outlet. But no, it's the same shit over and over and over again. And over and over again.
Yeah, and it's something that Andy Brickley has been preaching for a long time, like the short pass, like the little 2-foot pass
Yeah.
that leads to the breakout, and that's what they need to get to. And I, look, they had a great regular season, but then here are the facts. They had a great regular season 2 years ago, historic. But then his decisions were part of the reason why they blew the first round series.
Yes.
His decisions, which he admitted. And then the next year, they get by Toronto just because Toronto has a hex over them. They should have beaten Boston, but they get by them because Swayman stands on his head. Then the next series, what happens against Florida? Exactly what happened tonight. They can't get the puck up the ice, and the Panthers beat them. And then this year, here's what we have again. And I think that the Bruins have decided that defense and goaltending is how they're going to go because they know they're screwed at center. They know it. They know they're screwed at center, and they know that, Marchand's getting older and they're going to be screwed at wing. So it's going to be a real uphill battle to stay competitive for them because they haven't had high draft picks. They can't get those elite players from the ground up. They can't do it. I mean, they've done well enough just to get Poitras and Lowry, 2 second-round guys. So, but they know that they're screwed. I mean, look, centers don't get to free agency. No. And centers rarely get in trade unless there's a malcontent or something happens, like a line A or something. He's not a center, but someone like that, like some center that just is a pain in the ass, and you get him and you try to rehabilitate him. Other than that, or you draft him. Other than that, you can't get them. So they're the hottest commodity, hotter than goaltender. Something about Freddie just bothers me. Can't put my finger on it, says Liam Perkins. Yes, Pierre-Luc Dubois is an excellent example of that. Freddie, and look, he was my whipping boy 2 years ago on this program. I thought he couldn't play hockey. I thought he was a deer on ice. I mean, and all that. He's done a hell of a lot better than I ever thought he would. Yep. He's a third line player who has who's found his game to be a 15 to 18 goal guy. And that's fine. That's fine. What he is now is fine. He's not a second liner. He shouldn't get a big contract. He shouldn't get a long-term contract. He shouldn't get any of that. He shouldn't.
No.
But God knows what they'll do because they love them some Freddie.
They do.
He should not get a long-term high-value deal.
I'll tell you what, there's probably a pretty good chance he goes home, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I think St. Louis Torrey Krug's his ass and gives him a big deal to go home. And I think he takes it and goes home.
I will drive him to Terminal B at Logan Airport and send him off with the biggest hug in the world.
Yeah. I mean, good for him if he does.
Great for him.
But like you said, he's fine. He's fine where he is. He's a third line player that chips in. Offensively, he's better than both of us thought he would be. I thought the guy couldn't skate a lick when he came into the league, and now he can, and he produces a little bit. So, good on him. I thought he was one of the Bruins who was engaged the whole way. Did he play great? No, but he was trying. So, that's good on him, I guess. But, the Bruins have bigger problems other than Frederick.
Here's a good point by Christie. Florida gets beat one of two ways. You outwork them or you outspeed them and make them pay for being overly aggressive. And the Bruins have neither.
Right. That's
the
why
Bruins are capable of neither.
That's why it's a bad matchup.
Right.
That's why, and a team like Toronto could give them trouble because they have, Matthews and Marner and Nylander on the outside. Matthew Knies is fast. Knies is fast as well. So they have some speed guys that could give Florida trouble if they can get by the initial pressure. Boston doesn't have that. They don't have any guys that if you get by the initial pressure can have breakaway speed that can create a 2-on-1 because Florida back checks hard. I mean, they work hard. They're a disciplined team. They're a hardworking team. They do things the right way other than the sneaky, dirty crap, but whatever. But they play hard and, they really are sound defensively. So you have to do things the right way in order to get chances. And the Bruins, I don't think have the speed really or the skill to do that.
Right. And you know, you might be right that they aren't. When I asked you earlier on a couple episodes ago whether or not you thought this team was better, and you said they weren't quite as good.
Yeah.
They weren't, and I think you might be right. Like, I think you might be right. And I think, look, we can say what we want about Jake DeBrusk, but at least he balanced out that second line, gave him a legitimate top six winger on second line. Yeah, he underachieved and he was a pain in the ass and he was inconsistent and all of that. But at the end of the day, he was a really good he turned himself into a really good defensive forward, and he could score a goal. He could play on the power play and the kill. Like, he was a legitimate top six forward, and you lost him and didn't replace him.
No,
So,
and he had speed too.
And he had speed, which was actually speed that others didn't have on the team. So he set himself apart. Cam from the Cam Show says Freddie feels like Gregory Campbell, but with more ice time and less benefits, which is a excellent analysis.
Yeah.
And then Christy DeLisi says, I have terrible news for you. Florida just announced an 8x7 extension for Verhaeghe. So that just happened tonight. So Carter Verhaeghe gets 8 times 7. That means that Barkov, Reinhart, Kachuk, Forsling, Lundell, and Verhaeghe are all signed through at least 2030. So that's a good little tidbit. Thank you, Christy.
That's a pretty good core.
That's a pretty good core. And I'll tell you what, that's a pretty good deal. That's a pretty good value at 8 times 7 for Verhaeghe.
What do you think Bennett's going to get? And do you think the Bruins would be interested in Sam Bennett if he hits?
Well, Jesus, I would. And I don't know if they, I mean, now, if you look at that list of guys, can they afford Bennett? I mean, you know.
Well, they were actually talking about it a little bit on the broadcast and said that, you know, guys take less to stay there, which it appears Verhaeghe may have, you know, signed a little bit below what he could get, but, or, you know, right in the ballpark maybe. But, you know, if Bennett has another really good year, you know, is he 7, 8 in that mix? And I don't think Florida can afford that.
I don't think so.
So unless he takes less, you know, that's a guy that might be available. And, you know, that's a center, I believe, right? Sam Bennett plays center, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Sam Bennett plays center. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a center where you're, you know,
especially with Charlie Coyle. I mean,
Charlie Coyle's getting up there a little bit. You can move Charlie Coyle to second line right wing if you're not happy with Patra or Lysell or anybody else.
Sure.
So, you know, maybe Bennett's a guy and he adds that physicality and toughness and dirtiness and all that stuff. And
I'll tell you what, Lindholm, Bennett, Patra is pretty good.
Yeah.
Middle. You know what I mean? You know, next year. That's pretty good up there. I mean, that's better, you know, than what you've had.
Yeah.
And that
you could push Coyle back. You could push Coyle back to third line center.
Yes.
And Patra with, you know, Marchand, Bennett, and Patra.
Ooh, that's enticing.
I mean, we just play the guy and he's on us.
Now he's on our team. You know, that's if you can't beat him, join him.
Yeah,
I think that's what we're going with tonight.
Yeah, I mean, right now I can't stand the guy.
I know it.
But I want to be on my team next year.
Yeah, T-Boss 42 actually agrees with me. He says that heavy doesn't equal tough, and that's true. And also, we prepped a bunch of P Bruins for their season in our camp, and didn't keep one of them. And then he'd say Tufty over Max Jones. I mean, that's you know, McIntosh over fucking
6
Granny Smith.
6-1.
Like, I don't know. It's okay, great. Like my thing is that again, this is a pretty thin offensive team. It's the depth is not tremendous. A lot of fourth line guys, not a lot of middle six.
Yeah, I feel like if you want to give Tufty a chance, I certainly wouldn't be opposed to that because Max Jones isn't offering much of anything right now, and Tufty scored a goal in the preseason. You know, he's a big kid, so yeah, if you want to throw him out there, fine. I need somebody to go in there and play well and do some of the right things, not go in there and take penalties and do stupid shit like slashing a linesman. Like I could do without that. You know, I don't 100% place all the blame on him for that play, but you know, give Tufty a chance. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, like I said, all those fourth line guys are pretty much interchangeable.
They are.
If you said to me that Jim Montgomery puts all the fourth line guys' names in a hat, at before the game and just pulls them out and is like, okay, that's my fourth line. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what actually happened.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be and I wouldn't question it. Like, like what difference does it make?
He's like
honestly,
Beecher,
yeah,
Duran, Kuntar.
Yeah.
Nope, sorry.
Yeah. Tell you what, Kuntar had a hat trick the other night. Bring him up.
I know.
Bring him up. I mean, he's a feisty, grinding. I'd rather have him in there than friggin' Max Jones.
Yes,
taking penalties and slashing officials, and I'd rather that. I mean, Dan says, you think you will see Swayman take Korpisalo under his wing the same way Allmark did for Sway? What's our future in the net, fellas? Here's what I would do. I would either send him through waivers and keep the 1.25 and bury him in the minors. Korpisalo, that is. I don't think I would buy him out yet because I don't know what the ramifications are salary wise. And I hate that thing. Like, I hate that thing. That Mike Riley thing still irritates the shit out of me, even though it's not a lot of money. But I would bury him down there. I bring Bussy up and I'd play Swayman and Bussy for a while. And I'd take that valuable extra 1.25 in cap room, and I'd sign Tyler Johnson tomorrow for $900,000 or whatever. And I'd say, okay. And Patra comes back. I'd have Patra and Johnson and Bussy. And I'd go with that for 10 games or so. See what happens.
I'm with you.
I mean, if they can make that work cap wise, I would.
I honestly, I'm, and we've said it all along. They don't have enough offensive talent. So if Tyler Johnson scored a bunch of goals in this league, he scored 17 last year.
Sure.
I think most of them on the power play, but still scored goals. And the Bruins power play right now is dog shit. So if Tyler Johnson can go on the second line, second unit power play and score goals, fine. He should be in the lineup, and Patra should be in the lineup. And I think Fabian Lysell should be in the lineup. And if you think that's too many kids in the lineup and not enough heaviness, well, what did heaviness get you tonight? A whole big pile of shit got you tonight. You took 7 minor penalties with those heavy guys doing nothing. So give me some skill in the top 6, top 9, and let's see if we can do that. And then, the fourth line's the fourth line. But they need more skill in the forward group.
And then Narinamak says D looks big and slow, and it did. It did look slow. And it did look a pace behind everything. Like, it just looked unsure of itself. It looked slow to pucks. It wasn't winning many battles for the puck. Getting spun around a lot, not clearing in the front of the net a lot. It wasn't a great effort. But again, did they all play together once? In the friggin' preseason? That's the other thing. You had a couple new guys in there. Lowry looked overwhelmed and so forth. Christy says that Forsling is signed at 8 years at $5 million. What a great deal. Holy Christ. That's a great deal. And then Ekblad may retire, so that could be the way to get him in there, she says. So, we'll see what happens there. One last thing.
All these nuggets.
I mean, Chrissy's got the nuggets. Yeah. Yeah.
And they're all great nuggets, but they all are pissing me off, Christy. Because all you're doing is saying that Florida's going to be good for a long time.
And we have no answers.
I don't want to hear it, Christy.
Yeah. Bruins have no answers. Yeah, it's just we are screwed.
Knowledge on us and just making me depressed and want to pour more alcohol in my mouth.
We're gonna have to find a Western Conference team to root for. This is gonna turn into the Avalanche Benders podcast.
Yeah.
All right. I love Sway, says Dan Maynard, but we can't put all our chips on him, surely. And that's the thing too. He's got to play 55 games or so. You can't overplay him. He hasn't done it yet.
Nope.
Even at 55 games. So you can't do that thing either. So you need to find a reliable backup, which I think they'll get some, they should be able to get by with a reliable backup for 25 to 28 games. They should.
Yeah.
But we'll see who that is. And then finally, the Charlie McAvoy thing, as I'm watching the game, and we've been on him a little bit more so lately. We used to be totally in love with him, but now there's a little bit of the
the
chipping off. It's coming off. And I'll tell you, 9.5 is too much money for him. And I just came to that revelation today. And it's it's nothing against him. We just have underestimated or overestimated the type of player he is. He's not super great offensively, and he's not a number one guy. He's probably the second guy to a number one guy, like a guy who's a real stud. Like, and I just don't think that McAvoy is a $9.5 million player. And I came to the revelation today, and that doesn't mean he's not a $7 million player, $8 million, whatever, but he's not a $9.5 million player. And that's just the fact. And this is who he is. And we're not going to suck anything more out of him. He's fine. He's very good, but he's not great. And I've just finally succumbed. He just isn't.
Yeah, I'm probably more willing to give him the benefit of the doubt than you and producer Connor is. But tell you the last year plus, he's not helping me
since Jim Montgomery became coach.
Yes.
Like, to me, I am sticking to that.
It's 100% true. I said it, I don't know, a few weeks back or a month back on the podcast. Since Montgomery's been coach, he's given McAvoy too much rope, too much freedom to roam around the offensive zone, to be more
no accountability.
To be Cale Makar, and he does not have the same skill set.
No, he doesn't.
Be the Charlie McAvoy that was on the blue line when Bruce Cassidy was here.
Yes.
Stud, two-way player, awesome defensively, fine, offensively, 50 points, but great defensively. Give me that guy.
That's fine, and that's fine.
The guy I want back.
That's very good. That's fine.
And if he shoots more, maybe he's a 60-point guy.
Maybe.
But be that guy.
Right.
Be that guy, and then shoot more. And then you're my favorite player in the whole wide world.
Yeah, just be that guy. Be steady.
Be that guy and shoot more. You're my favorite player in the whole wide
defensively world. And pick your spots offensively.
Yeah.
And get your points and be fine. Like,
but
just be. That's
it. And you know what? I'm not sure it's just McAvoy. It's like all the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a play tonight, and it's such a juxtaposition because Florida plays so well together, and so they're so positionally good and cover the zone the right way. There was a play. The Bruins had the puck down below their offensive goal line. I don't know who it was that had the puck. They make a backhand pass into the slot. The forward's just off to the right wing side, misses the pass. Fucking Andrew Peak is charging in from the blue line behind the forward. So there's two guys basically in the same fucking spot, and the puck goes out of the zone because there's no one at the right point. Like, can we play our positions and not have the guys, all wanting to be Bobby Orr? Can we play our positions?
This is the part I don't like. If
it was Florida, the right defenseman is getting that pass, moving to the middle, shooting on net with two guys in front to tip the shot. But with Boston, it gets out of the zone because we have a forward not in the slot and a right defenseman up the forward's fucking ass. Sorry, John.
Now, hey, here's the problem is that only like a couple of guys like Lindholm and Lowry can kind of do that thing. Like, they don't have the personnel to completely, they haven't put their roster together to actually match up with that philosophy. So this is the part of the Montgomery philosophy I don't love with this personnel.
Yes.
Is that it just doesn't fit the personnel.
Right.
So they can't kind of play that way. Like, and I know they need a little bit more offense from the defense, but right now they just have to be more solid defensively and then just make good breakout passes, pinch when they can, but be stout on the blue line, on both blue lines, and just be fine in front of the net. Just, you're big, you're strong, you're whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't know. There's questions about the right. I mean, it's the first game of the year.
Yeah.
And they play like a horse shit. They did. And I'll tell you what, this is the first season opener they've lost since 2018-19 season. 7-0 to Washington, and then went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. So it's possible to still have a good season after you get your doors blown off in Game 1. It's possible. There's precedent there.
I love that. I love that. We should end on that.
Let's end on that positive. That we didn't get blown out as much as we did then.
We went to the Stanley Cup Finals.
We did. We went to the Stanley Cup Finals.
So there you go.
We're going to the final.
We're going to the finals, boys.
You know,
up on this train. Get on early. We're going to the final.
Bruins and Montreal Thursday night at TD Garden for the home opener. Jeremy Swayman should be in net for that one. Raucous crowd. I'm sure you'll get a better effort against a lesser team in Montreal. The rivalry renewed. I'm sure that the Bruins will respond because they have over the years. I mean, they're a resilient bunch for the most part. You'll see their effort. I expect to win. And then you have a really tough weekend of Kings and Panthers at home. So that's not easy either. But you can join us Thursday night after the Montreal Canadiens Bruins game for Bruins Benders post-game live right here on YouTube. We appreciate everybody jumping in tonight. We had a good crowd here tonight. It was a difficult result, but I'll tell you what. Hopefully, it's an eye opener. And off the bat, it gets the management, the coaching staff, the players, gets them to take notice that they're not quite. Even though they've made corrections to the roster and so forth, and they thought they made good additions, it's still not where it needs to be. So maybe that's a good thing. You know, maybe there's more sense of urgency right off the bat here, and we'll see what they do with the roster. Even for Thursday night, there may be some changes after tonight's loss. So, hey, you can get your merchandise for another hour. You can get your merchandise right on the Bruins Benders website there. And GetBent25 is the code. So go to InsideTheRink.com, go to shop, go to Bruins Benders, grab a mug, put some bourbon in it. All right.
And it's delicious.
Sober up for Thursday night. We'll see you then. Hey, until then, as always, go Bruins.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.